Hey there, friends. Welcome to the shop. I'd like to share with you some of my vices. You know, beer, sleeping in. No, I mean actual vices.
These are my Panavises. It's a brand. The brand is Panavise. And they are vices just like you would imagine most benchtop vices, with a couple of caveats. Now these are a little fancy, a little bit pricey, but I think they're worth it. First, this is, I think, the sort of base model Panavise, normal one, jaws open and close. We, of course, upgraded it by adding googly eyes. One of them fell apart, so this one is winking. It also has a gem for a nose. I don't know why I didn't put that on there. I have modified mine. I 3D printed some plastic jaws. The idea is that I can hold stuff in these plastic jaws that might get dented by metal jaws, and it'll stay safe. Also, I added a groove there to hold something up and down, and I added a groove down the middle to hold something lengthwise, something round. Something like this tube I can put down in there, clamp it, and it'll hold it nice and secure. These soft jaws aren't going to dent the aluminum, and if I need to work on this now, I can. Same thing if I go the other way, it'll hold it very nicely. In fact, most of the time this position is what you would use to hold something round, and it is nice and secure there. You could secure the whole vise down to your benchtop. I tend to move these from place to place. They do sell a base, which is quite pricey for a chunk of aluminum. So you can see this one, I just drilled it to a piece of wood, although I think something wider would be better. This was just a scrap I had laying around. The magic trick that these things do is this handle here. If I loosen it, this can rotate now, and it can pivot. So if I need to work on this in a very specific angle, I can lock it down, and there it is. This guy up here has a different set of jaws, and this can open a lot, like the length of this threaded rod here. So I can hold something quite wide in this. I usually end up like holding a prop or something when I'm painting or working on it. So let's grab my token Destiny hand cannon here. I can cinch it down in the jaws. These jaws have rubber around them, so they keep it nice and protected. And then of course I can loosen this and rotate my blaster so that I can work on it at whatever angle I desire. So if I tilt it back like that, if I'm doing like decal work on the side of it here, it's nice and tipped up and off the ground. It's really, really fantastic. These are awesome. These Panavises, really, really great. I bought this one new, the guy back here, for I want to say like 60 bucks, something like that. That's a guess. I would have to go check to be sure. But so a little pricey, but I use it all the time, so I think it's worth it. This fella right here, we bought used, or when we were moving shops, there was a company that was getting rid of a bunch of stuff in their office, including a bunch of workbenches, like this workbench right here. That's the one I use every day. We bought this from them and a bunch of other stuff that they had, including this used Panavise. So I got a really good deal on this thing, and it's totally worth it. I use it all the time. There you go. Look at some of my vices. I have a couple more vices around, but they're not cool and articulating like these guys. They're normal, just like bolted down to the table type of vices. If you have questions about these, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to sing their praises or let you know about the experience I've had with mine. Let's move on to something else. Here's a quick look at the state of the Mandalorian helmets. We are on to painting, and the Mando over there, the Mandalorian, very simple paint job. He's just got a black gloss on him, and then we're going to make him look metallic tomorrow. Then Boba Fett's got his base layer of green on there, and I just did the back panel right there, so that right there, the back part. This, I imagine tomorrow I'm going to be doing a lot of like hand painting all of this chipping detail, so that should be exciting. Anyway, the plan is to have these two finished up at the end of this week, so we should have the completion of our Mandalorian saga on Friday for you guys, and I hope you're looking forward to it. We've been working on these things for a couple of weeks now, and I'm really happy with how they're turning out.
Now for these vlogs, I try and grab a slice of whatever we're doing that's fun or interesting or cool or behind the scenes stuff that not a lot of other people get to see and is kind of neat. So talk about tools or behind the scenes projects or whatever. But there are a lot of things that we do here at Punished Props that take up a lot of time that really aren't worth filming because they're not fun at all, but they should be acknowledged. So Britt's over there right now putting stickers on Foamsmith books, updating it for Amazon.
This is so much fun!
Basically, Amazon wants a unique barcode for the Foamsmith books. So before we mail boxes to them, Britt's opening every box and putting a new barcode sticker over every barcode on every copy we send to Amazon. That's just a thing that we have to do, and it takes up a ton of time, and it's not worth filming. But I figured you guys would appreciate kind of at least knowing or understanding what that type of work is and how it has an impact on everything that we do here. Because like I'll have a day, like a good example today. Today is Monday, and I came in, I'm like, Mando helmets, gonna paint them all. They're gonna be done today. But then there was some business thing I had to work on. Okay, we had to have a meeting. Okay, we went and did that. All right, Mando helmets. Let's paint the Mando helmets. And then we got to go figure out which part of the video we're working on. And, oh, it's time for lunch. Oh, I got an invoice thing I got to deal with. And then Britt was like, oh, well, we're waiting for the paint to dry, so I'll go put stickers on things. That's just kind of how it is every day. There is just always something to do, something to fill our time. And a lot of that stuff is really super tedious. No joke, I had to fill out a tax form the other day that was 2 pages long, and the instructions for the tax form were 20 pages long, and I had to look up a YouTube video to explain how to use the 20-page instructions to fill out the 2-page form. I didn't film that for you guys because I figured you didn't want to see me just having a complete meltdown. But that's the sort of stuff that you kind of got to do when you're running a business, and I don't know, I just thought maybe you guys would love having a little bit more of an insight into what it's really like to run a business like this behind the scenes. So today Britt's putting stickers on books, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate her. And yes, she can hear me.
You're welcome!
All right, let's do something a little more fun. These are the paints I'm gonna use for Boba Fett. There are a lot of colors, a lot more than you would guess, and I've listed them all right here. And I talk about this in the video, and you'll see when that video's out. But basically, lots of different shades of green. There's red, there's tan, there's a slightly lighter green over here. There's this yellow part, and then there's all this weathering. So I'm mostly going with golden paints on this one because I had a lot of them that were close to the right color, but they're also really fantastic paints, and I happen to have a bunch of them. And I don't remember why, but look at all these different greens I got. So that really helped me kind of dial in the color that I wanted. This is this is gonna be tomorrow when I'm doing most of the painting on this, at least the masking and painting for Boba Fett. This is gonna be critical, this list here, because it's basically in the order that I'm going to paint them. So the light green I've already done, then I masked that and sprayed the dark green, and now I'm letting that dry, and then I'll mask and spray the black, and then the red, and then the tan, and so on down the list. And then the weathering on this guy is weird. You could do this with paint chipping, but most of the time I see people applying all this by hand with a brush. Starting with like the lower dent scratch part, and then like finishing it with a metallic, kind of silvery, looking like there's exposed metal there. This part I'm sure is gonna be tricky. But the real takeaway here is that before diving into a paint job as complicated as this, I like to make a list of all the colors I need so that I can go buy more if I need to, or at the very least I can go check my paint supply and make sure I have enough paints that will work together that should work for my paint job. And then a reminder of the order that they're gonna go on there, so that when I demask, I just finished demasking the back of my helmet here, this darker green versus this lighter one. Demask that, I know I need to let this whole thing dry. And then the next color is gonna be black, down here on the cheeks. Which is fantastic because on this helmet, even if this part here is still drying, the cheeks, these parts right here that need to be black, I could mask
and spray those now if I wanted to. However, it's almost the end of the day. It's almost time for me to go home. So I'm going to let that dry and do the rest of that painting tomorrow.
It's the morning, the heat's on, you should be able to hear it. It's a little noisy, but very worth it. It is 64 degrees in the shop this morning, but it was below 60 when we got here. So happy to have that heater, even though it's mighty loud. I am designing something, and I'd like your help. I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago I want to build a clothing rack for all of our costume things. For example, my Ghostbuster costume has just been sitting like that since we finished the video. It has nowhere to live. And I want to build it at home along with a bunch of my other costumes. So I've started designing my clothing rack. So the basic idea is I've got some 2x4s to make a frame, a bar that goes across so I can hang stuff here. I figure I can protrude it beyond to hang stuff on the far side of it, give myself a little more room. I have a tall mirror that just kind of rests against the wall over there, and I'd love to install that permanently so it's up high, nice and vertical. So there's gonna be a mirror on there. And then I figure I have things like boots and accessories and stuff that doesn't hang, so I'll have a shelf and I can have boxes that I just pull out from under there that are full of costume parts. I have a lot of full finished costumes, so I'll have like a box for my Ghostbuster accessories, and the flight suit will get hung up. But I also have a lot of boxes of just generic costume accessories. Got a lot of pirate stuff, belts, capes, you know, stuff that works for any costume. So this is the basic design I have here, but I'm gonna throw it to you guys because you are so much better at coming up with ideas than I am. There's also a lot more of you than just me. So what other features could I include in my clothing rack? And really rack your brains. I'm not gonna build this for another week or two, so if you have any fun ideas, throw them in the comments on Patreon or over on YouTube. I want to get some fun ideas from you guys. Thinking of fun ways to store stuff or organize things, or like what type of things are going to be stored there. So garments, boots, gloves, hats generally and helmets get displayed somewhere, so I wouldn't worry about like displaying helmets. Although having helmets somewhere on there would be kind of cool. That's a stretch goal. Mostly the garment type things worn on your body. Same thing with armor. Armor ends up going in boxes. Actually, there is armor in these boxes right there. So don't worry about like hanging up or storing big boxes of armor on this. This is more for costumes that have garments and accessories that go with them. For example, my Nazgul costume, I will hang up the robe, and the sword I might put on display in the office. The gauntlets are actually on display in the office too. But those gauntlets, if they weren't on display, those could go in a box just below the hanging garment. So that's all I'm gonna give you for a prompt. I want your unfiltered ideas. There are no bad ideas. There are just some that I'll use and some that I won't. I think that's gonna wrap it up for me here in the shop today. We're just warming up this morning and getting ready to do more helmet painting over there. And I'm really excited about that. It's mostly what I have on the plate for today. Not a ton of that boring behind-the-scenes businessy stuff. I do need to go to the bank. That's it. I can go to the bank and then paint helmets today. That's the big plan. And then I will be anxiously awaiting your ideas for our garment rack here. That's what we'll call it, the garment rack. I like the word garment. It sounds official and legitimate. All right, that'll do it. I'll stop rambling at you. I have a lot of work to do today, so I'm gonna go do that. Thanks as always for hanging out with me. It's always a pleasure, and I really enjoy reading your comments and suggestions and ideas. And we'll catch you in just a few days with an update, hopefully the final update on these helmets. All right, can't wait to share those with you on Friday. Hope you're having a wonderful week. Take it easy. We'll see you in a few days.